It's one of the biggest questions in all of history. Why do great, powerful civilizations just fall apart? Well, today, we're going to dive right into that by exploring Jared Diamond's amazing work, Collapse. We're going to try and figure out why some of the most powerful societies of the past completely vanished and what their stories might be telling us about our own future. So, Diamond kicks things off with this really haunting question that just hangs over the entire book. I mean, really think about this for a second. You've got this thriving society on a super remote island, and they are literally, slowly sawing off the very branch they're sitting on. How could they not see what was coming? Yeah, the answer is pretty grim. See, without trees, they couldn't build their big canoes for fishing. Their soil washed away, and their whole society just fell into total chaos. The stakes were unbelievably high. We're talking starvation, brutal, constant warfare, and, as this ancient taunt shows, even cannibalism. It just makes that central mystery so much deeper. Why on earth did they let it get that bad? Okay, so to solve a mystery this big, Diamond basically puts on his detective hat. He treats these collapsed societies like historical crime scenes. He doesn't just focus on one. He uses this really powerful tool to find the patterns connecting all of them. And this is his secret weapon. It's called the comparative method. The whole idea is to find two societies that are in really similar environments, but with just one key difference, maybe in their choices or their values. By comparing what happened to them, one succeeds, one fails, you can start to figure out what really mattered. It's almost like running an experiment using history itself as your laboratory. And you can see this method in action so clearly with the Norse Vikings. So they settled both Greenland and Iceland around the same time. Now, Greenland was a tougher spot, sure, colder, more fragile land, but the critical difference was how they responded. The Greenlanders were stubborn. They clung to their old European identity, trying to raise cattle where cattle couldn't survive, and completely refusing to learn from the native Inuit people who knew how to live there. The Icelanders, on the other hand, they adapted. They switched to fishing and were super careful about managing their land. And the result? The Greenland colony just disappeared. Vanished, while Iceland society is still here today. So as Diamond applies this comparative method across all these different historical cases, a really clear pattern starts to emerge. He builds his 5-point framework of factors that, when they all come together, can push pretty much any society right to the brink. The thing is, collapse is almost never about just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm. You've got environmental damage, you've got some kind of climate shift, and maybe you've got pressure from your neighbors. But here's the absolute kicker. It's that last one, the society's response, that really seals the deal. At the end of the day, it always comes down to the choices people make when the pressure is on. And you see this framework play out all over the globe again and again. For the Easter Islanders and the Anasazi, it was that self-inflicted environmental damage. For the Maya, it was that damage plus climate change. And in a really chilling modern example, the Rwandan genocide was fueled by just intense population pressure on this tiny, environmentally damaged piece of land. That pressure, as Diamond puts it, was the dynamite, and the ethnic hatred was just the fuse. But here's the hopeful part. Collapse isn't inevitable. It's not a foregone conclusion. You just have to look at Tokugawa-era Japan. They were facing their own massive crisis of deforestation. But unlike Easter Island, their leaders saw the danger and put in place these really strict top-down forest management policies. They actually reforested their country. It's proof that a society can see that cliff edge and consciously choose to turn back. And this, right here, is where the whole analysis starts to hit a little too close to home. Because Diamond isn't just writing about the past. He's holding up a mirror to our world right now, showing us how these exact same forces are at play. To make it all feel real and present, he zooms in on a place he knows and loves, modern-day Montana. He uses it as this perfect little microcosm, a living case study, to show us how those same pressures, environmental damage, climate change, and our response to it, are all unfolding as we speak. Montana, it turns out, is a land of massive contradictions. The perception, right, is this booming, pristine paradise. But the reality, when you dig a little deeper, is that the traditional jobs in logging and mining have collapsed. They've left behind a legacy of toxic waste, damaged soil, and serious water shortages. And this creates this huge conflict between the old-timers who depend on the land for resources and the newer residents who just see it as a beautiful backdrop to be preserved. And if you want just one single shocking number that shows how these huge global forces are having a dramatic local impact, here it is. The glaciers in Glacier National Park are melting so fast, they're expected to be completely gone by 2030. And this isn't just about losing a tourist attraction, it's a direct threat to the water supply for the entire region. So, this brings us full circle, right back to that haunting question about Easter Island. Why do smart people, in smart, complex societies, let these absolutely disastrous things happen? Well, Diamond offers a few really powerful explanations. One of the most insidious reasons is this psychological trap he calls creeping normalcy. Basically, things get worse so slowly, just a tiny bit each year, that we don't even notice the massive change that's happening over decades. Our baseline for what's normal just keeps shifting downward bit by bit. We literally forget how good things used to be. And it's not just that. Our decision-making also gets totally paralyzed for other reasons. First, you've got conflicts of interest, where a small, powerful elite can actually benefit from destroying a resource that everyone else needs. Then, we cling to these cherished values that just don't work anymore, exactly like the Greenland Norse. And finally, we all fall for the "it's someone else's problem" excuse, right? Believing that all those problems happening far away have nothing to do with us. Now, despite all these psychological traps and historical warnings, the central message of this book is not one of doom and gloom. It's really a call to action, and it's rooted in a kind of cautious optimism, because the choices we make, right here, right now, are going to directly shape the world that our kids and grandkids inherit. And this is the crucial difference, the one thing that separates us from the Easter Islanders or the Maya. We are the very first society in all of human history to have the library of their mistakes right at our fingertips. We have archaeology to tell us exactly what went wrong for them. We have satellites and global communication to see problems developing in real time. We have absolutely no excuse for ignorance. So ultimately, the future isn't written in stone. This isn't about fate, it's all about choice. The stories of Easter Island and the Greenland Norse, they're not prophecies, they're warnings. History has laid out all the lessons for us. The only question left is, what will we choose to learn from them?